Thank you for doing a quick chat. It was really just this place is amazing as well. Like the Braintree one was brilliant. I suppose what was the decision for this one opening first, or sorry, after Braintree? Was it a plan that this one was always going to be the next one, or?
Yeah, so it's really prioritised against the ones that we have the ability to open first.
Yeah.
In addition to them being great locations. So what we're doing is we're building a network of charging solutions across the UK to enable anyone, anywhere, to drive any type of EV without any anxiety and a great experience. So that's the goal. And so that involves having different solutions for different locations, so electric hubs like along the motorway, and super hubs, which we announced today for the really high power ones, electric forecourts in the different locations. And actually we've learned that there's a variety of different types of hubs and forecourts that are suitable to serve each location. The east of England is particularly, is poorly served for EVs at the moment. That's resulted in very low EV uptake. And so, we're interested in increasing EV uptake, we're interested in moving the needle, transforming the situation beyond what would otherwise be the case. And so it seemed like a great opportunity. And so this site, we were also able to, overcome a lot of the challenges quickly, like getting the grid connection, getting the planning permission, organising everything. It serves serves Norfolk, but specifically in the Norwich area. There's over 100,000 people, probably 40,000 of them can't easily charge at home. So it's a lot of people who can't charge at home, and that's very useful to build a facility like this. There's also a lot of businesses who need to transition that you need infrastructure like this. We secured a good grid connection. We're on the edge of a busy road, so there's just a lot of things that have to come together to be able to build a site like this. And this all came together, in really good time. Having said that, there's many more sites that we have in our pipeline. The next we're building is Gatwick Airport site. And there's six of the planning permission already, and many more in the pipeline after that.
Because I think one of the ones that, certainly that's selfishly interests me is Stevenage or Nebworth.
Oh wow!
Because that's 5 miles from where I live.
Is it?
So is there any news on that, or is it planning?
Can you charge at home?
No. So I've lived on public charging for 4 years.
Okay.
And having Gridserve, but obviously the recent again outstanding work over the last 10 months of transforming the electric highway.
Okay.
Has just
Has that made a difference?
Oh, 100%. It's gone from I will never use this thing again to absolutely they're the ones that I go to now.
Okay, perfect.
Which is exactly what I was hoping. So it was Gridserve come on the thing, right? Let's see what you can do. Let's see if you're actually true to your word of doing what you said you're going to do. And 10 months later, you've done exactly what you said you're going to do. And it's the way I look at it. It's more about. It's not necessarily about the money aspect. It's because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why people like me, people like some of the other YouTubers are kind of behind Gridserve, because it's like if you're putting your money where your mouth is and you're actually doing what you said you're going to do, people like me that rely on these things are going to shout you from the rooftops type of thing.
Yeah.
So when the Stevenage one was announced, I'm like, right, that's ideal.
Yeah, I mean it's all so important and helpful for us, because what we're doing is we're building infrastructure. A lot of it is ahead of demand, like sites like this. And so the more support that we get from people, the more they use the facilities and take advantage of everything on offer, the more it translates into success for our investors, who then, it's then easier for them to put more money into what we're doing. So, it's just so helpful. Any of the support that we get directly translates into our ability to do more of what we're doing, which is fantastic. It's also great to hear about about your experience on the electric highway. So I got my first electric car 8 years ago, and the Tesla supercharger network didn't exist. The only real solution was the electric highway. Even then it was challenged, because they got the very first generation of chargers. Great locations, chargers were, just version 1. But was very useful. So I knew the locations were great. But the chargers need changing very quickly, and there's a lot more to come, a huge amount of optimization. So the first plan was, let's just replace them all incredibly quickly. Let's also put chargers in to serve every type of vehicle. So that's why we've got CHAdeMO, we've got CCS, and the new AC Close as well. We're absolutely delighted, and we're seeing it in terms of uptake for utilization. But of course the key thing now is that now people know that they work and they're reliable and they've got support and everything. Now people saying, well, now I want more, which is great. Yeah. So, but that's really helpful because we now have the evidence to support, with our investors. Let's put lots more of these in now, and that's what we're doing with all the super hubs. But yeah, coming back to your point about Stevenage, what an awesome site, isn't it?
Yeah, I presume it's the site next to where the hotel is in Nebworth.
Yeah, it's actually literally on the Nebworth estate, on the main roundabout as you come out. Literally, as there's the motorway. There's the motorway. Here's the roundabout. There is the site.
Brilliant.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Perfect location.
Perfect location. And we're incredibly excited about that. We're just lining everything up in the background, working through.
Imagine it takes a lot of planning and.
There's a lot, and at the moment it's been very, very difficult to do what we do because the availability of materials, components, and it's just all over the place.
So this site, I think I saw it might have been the interview with on Fully Charged, which was this site especially, like even glass was in short supply and
everything. Everything. There's so much, including these pods that we're in.
Yeah.
The pods that we're in now. Unfortunately, the company who made the pods at Braintree, didn't survive through COVID, which is really unfortunate. So, it's like where do you get a soundproof pod in no time at all? So etc. And there's so much of the materials and components we have in this site were not the original ones that we thought we were going to get, but also we had to deliver to a very tight schedule. Because we want to get this infrastructure over the line. It's only useful for people if it's on, if it's useful. So, it's one heck of a journey we're on, and because there's just so much more to an electric forecourt than an electric hub, there is a huge amount more planning. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. But yeah, Stevenage, what an ace site. Really, really great location. Really good grid connection, just near Stevenage.
Yep.
Nebworth Estate. Great outdoor concert venue.
Yep.
Really excited about that as well. And yeah, we're looking forward to getting that one over the line for you as quickly as possible.
It's definitely going to make certainly my life easier. Like I said, I have the benefit of now charging from at work, as well as the increase in chargers everywhere now. But having something like that on your doorstep, that's one trip once a week for 20 minutes with a coffee, charge your car, and that's it. I'm done for the week now.
Yeah. Well, the thing that we're also now focusing on as well, it's great that how long have you been an EV driver?
4 years.
Okay, cool. So, there's such a lot of uptake in EVs, but what, the infrastructure we're building, because it's just so much bigger and there's so much more of it than basically anything else. Even the chargers we're putting in are 350 kilowatt, and people don't realise it because they look quite similar. But you're 7 times more powerful than a 50 kilowatt charger.
Yes.
And so it costs a lot more money to put that in. And so what we need EV demand to pick up, to sustain to kind of keep pace with the type of infrastructure that we're putting on. And that's why we've got the EV leasing business as well. We're about to start test drives as well. We think that's really going to help.
Excellent.
So, because people, if you're already keen and enthusiast, you love it. EVs
get somebody in a car.
But how do you get someone, to go to an EV who doesn't really care about EVs, isn't really interested, just wants a vehicle? How do you explain to them it's easy? And so that's the thing that we could really do with support on as well, which is helping people understand that if you want to get an EV, you want to try them out, then Gridserve's one of the places to go through as well, because we need to make sure that we're putting in infrastructure ahead of demand, but we need to again prove to our investors that the demand is coming, to meet that demand, and we all kind of know it is. But the quicker it comes, the more we can put in, because I'll keep putting in infrastructure well ahead of demand.
Yes.
And so it means that the more people buy EVs, the more ahead of the curve I can be, basically.
Yeah, and that's it does make a change as well, because before it was like people, to a degree, before the pandemic, for instance, were buying EVs, but the infrastructure was lagging behind. But now, like Gridserve have kind of changed it, and like you're getting ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
you're waiting for that other part, and because
I want to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly, and the supply chain's probably obviously stifling that to a degree, because if you order a car now, it's 12 months perhaps.
Yeah. So I'll give you a good example, like Swansea Electric Hub, or Super Hub, we now call them. So we actually have 12, the foundations in for 12 chargers and a grid connection for 12 chargers. We only put 6 in at the moment.
Because the demand
isn't there. If the demand was there, I'd put another 6 in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if the demand I could see was coming more than that, I'd go and put another 12 in, 12 bays in, to supply the next 6 and then the next 18 and so on. So we think it's really important, because what wouldn't be great for the industry is that if huge amounts of people get into EVs and then all of a sudden they're unhappy about charging.
Yeah.
And so we're ahead of demand, but we want to stay ahead of demand, and for that we need more people to get EVs.
And you've got to keep that customer service level. That, to me, that above anything else, that is 100% like at the forefront, because as soon as you lose that customer service bit, people get turned off from using it.
Absolutely essential. And we're working on a lot of really cool features that will help with that as well. I mean, the actual chargers themselves are very reliable. It's kind of all the other stuff around them that makes it complicated, like the contactless payment devices.
Yep.
And even those are fine, but it's the cell phone connections, the telephone connections, to connect them to the outside world. It's actually quite complex when you do a contactless payment. How it actually all works, where all the signals go, everything that comes together. And so if during that time there is you've got a poor cell signal, which you often have on a motorway site, you can have in remote locations, then the whole thing cannot work. So there's a lot of new features that we've got that we're driving forward with as well. One of the most exciting ones that I think the EV community is going to love is auto charge.
And that's the app where you charge once, you register it, and then you pull up to the next one and you just plug in.
You say to it, "Remember me,"
and
it remembers your details. But the thing is that not only is that really useful, so you can just turn up, plug in your vehicle, and it starts charging, but it also gets over a lot of the other issues. So, for example, if you touch a contactless device and the signal doesn't go all the way through, it will report back and doesn't work, declined, or didn't work, or whatever it might be, and you get one shot at it. Whereas if it's our system, and it doesn't go through, we can ping it again and ping it again and ping it again and ping it again, and it will eventually it will start working. I say eventually, it might only mean a second or two later for the customer, but that's a difference between it working or it saying rejected.
Again, it comes down to that customer experience of the last thing you want is certainly a new EV driver. For me, after 4 years, I know to expect there's a level of failure to some degree.
Yeah.
But a new EV owner for the first time coming up, they just want to go right, swipe, plug in.
It works.
It works. And if as soon as it doesn't, it's the point where it's not easy anymore. It becomes a kind of a standoff part of using that technology.
That's what we're focused on. It's how do we deliver the charging experience, which is not just as good as petrol and diesel, because I don't really think petrol and diesel is a very good experience, but how do we do something that's just actually really good, better than petrol and diesel for sure. And the base level start about that is you need to be 100% confident it's going to work.
Yes.
And then you can build features and functionality on top of that. But that's the basics. And certainly, and there's a lot of things that make that actually quite difficult to achieve. But we're certainly on top of it. We've got service levels that I don't think anybody else is at that level at the moment. We've got call centres that are running 24/7. We've got people that have, because chargers do go wrong, things go wrong, issues, particularly if they were used as much as ours. So we charged 85,000 cars in March, sometimes chargers there are issues. And so what we need to do is make sure we're on top of those issues, and we're fixing those issues before customers even realise that they're happening.
Or if they're breaking, you've got somebody on the end of the phone that's understandable, especially if you're 2 o'clock in the morning, I know a woman on their own, or all those situations, or you've got kids in the car. The last thing you want is to have to deal with.
And we have measures in place, which we haven't really publicised, but we have measures in place so we won't leave anybody stranded. Completely, even if they can't charge their car. So so it's just really, really important that people know I'm going to get an EV. I'm going to leave my petrol and diesel car behind. Because I have absolute confidence that network's going to work, and if there's any issue, I know I'm going to be all right. And that's the basics, and that's what we are really, really focused on. In addition to then all the features we can build into that, just to kind of make it incredibly easy.
Brilliant. And I suppose final question. I'll let you get back to your daughter. What does the next 6 months, 12 months look like for Gridserve? I mean, I know you've got a ton of things on. Is there a one key driver over the next 12 months you think, right, by the end of 2022 we must have this in place? So if you heard what I said earlier, the thing that's the IPCC report, the International Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report that came out on the 4th of April,
was effectively last chance saloon.
Yeah.
It said, you know, unless the world peaks in carbon emissions by latest 2025, 32 months from now, less than 1,000 days, then we will not limit warming to 1.5 degrees, i.e. mass extinction events are going to happen, and it's going to be horrendous. And so, like, less than 1,000 days.
Yeah, it's
know?
nothing
So
at all.
32 months is that period. So for the next 12 months, what are we focused on? Impact.
Yeah.
You know, how do we scale this enormously? So we delivered, you know, we changed all the electric highway chargers in actually most of it we did in 6 months.
Yeah.
We then had some contractual issues with some of the operators that we had just to navigate, just the usual things that kind of happen. And then, you know, the moment we got those solved, we fixed the others in about 2 months. And that was a 10-month process in total. We've now got, what have we got? We've got, you know, well, we've got double digits numbers of additional electric hubs, you know, in the process that we need to deliver.
Brilliant.
We've got 6 more forecourts with planning permission, electric forecourts with planning
Excellent.
permission.
And there's that planning permission, as in you're good to go, and
Yeah,
you
like
just
Stevenage,
Yeah.
as in it's got full planning permission.
you
It's
just
granted,
got
we've got the
just
grid
got to put the
connection.
groundwork in and do
Yeah,
it.
it's just we then need to turn it from a, you know, conceptual to everything designed, everything engineered, every single thing costed,
Yeah.
everything worked out, you know, teams in place, everyone ready to execute and crack on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's about really scaling that
Brilliant.
in the next 12 months so that we can deliver impact. And then at the same time scaling the leasing business too, and the test drive.
So you can build that
opportunity.
kind of
So we can
drive
kind
as
of,
well. Yeah.
You know, so that can match demand, so I can then still stay ahead of demand, which
Yeah.
is what's needed. So it's all of that, and it's about delivering impact, because we don't, you know, it's very sad really that it's come down to less than 1,000 days to, you know, trajectory. And it's not Toddington Harper saying this. This is the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's the UN's top climate body of climate scientists, and you know the UN member states that have said this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. So it's down to us collectively, you, me, now, anyone listening to this, to get on with it. And as the UN framed it, it's now or never.
Yeah.
And I'll take now.
Yeah, 100%. You know, for me, it wasn't necessarily the driver to get in an electric car, but now the electric car was almost like the catalyst of doing that, doing more recycling, doing the more, you know, reducing travel and all the stuff that you can do as a person.
Yeah.
And then hopefully inciting that to companies, governments,
Yeah.
you know, all the people that should be doing more, but it seems to be companies like Gridserve and things like that are kind of pushing it, whereas there's still a lot of people that are lagging behind or just almost like their heads in the sand.
Yeah, and I think people have been fed such a lot of disinformation over the last many years about climate change. Is it happening? Is it not? And,
Yeah.
you know, just such a lot of hogwash that people have been given. And so I don't think, because of that, and because there's so many horrendous things going on in the world, and there's just all sorts of stuff, that I just don't think people, you know, it's not going in.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not going in, you know. It can't be true.
Too much noise everywhere else.
Yeah,
so,
it can't be true. We can't really have, you know, it'll be fine. We'll be able to fix this at some point.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It'll surely, but, you know, you have to just separate that and go, no, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's down to people like us to fix, because our kids, unless they can fix it in the next 1,000 days with us, don't have the chance.
Yeah.
You know, we just need to. It's just call to action. You know, we just
Definitely.
need to get on with it. You know, having an EV is great because it kind of boosts your thinking. You start thinking about other things. You start thinking about energy efficiency and utilization and energy and power and all this sort of stuff, and everything else. But we need to get our skates on.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, thank you very much. It's
Thank you
been
for coming.
brilliant talking to you, and again, thanks for the day. It's been fantastic.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks a
Super.
lot.
Cheers.
Great stuff.